What's going on, guys? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Snapchat. Today, Alex and I are going to be breaking down the news card Mockingbird coming out Tuesday. She's going to help uplift archetypes like Patriot, Loki, and dare I say another card for Thanos. But we're also going to be ranking all of the 5-cost cards in a tier list from best to worst to in between the middle of the pack. Alex and I are going to be giving our separate opinions on that. And then finally, we've got Snap and Stats. We're going to be talking about the best performing cards in Snap, the worst, and ones we might see get a buff in this next monthly balance patch coming up Tuesday. We're going to talk about that all today and more on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Alex Coccia. Hello, my friend. We're coming off 2 new cards, a crazy town of theory crafting. We're about to hit the monthly balance patch this Tuesday. How you doing, man?
Buddy, I'm doing absolutely incredible. Yeah, there is a lot going on at Snap with the balance patch coming out on Tuesday. I'm really hoping for some feature improvements. Not so much like actual balancing, but like patching. I want to see the improvement on the game, selectable borders, improvement to the the cash system or something. I just want to see the game get better. That's what I'm most excited about for Tuesday.
And I've heard the whispers we might get an undo turn button to prevent like rope snapping, or if people, if you're very casual, like what the hell is rope snapping? Like people waiting a long time, then snapping. Theoretically, Alex, right? Isn't that like the more advantage way to play the game, kind of?
Yeah, if you're like going full sweat mode, then theoretically waiting out every single turn so that your opponent kind of fixes their position and then you snap. What that does is it basically adds this like scenario of them like, well, they just snap, they double the stakes and they can't move their board. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I play a turn differently depending on whether or not there's a snap. It gives additional information. Maybe they have a more confident play that you need to think around and play around, right? So theoretically in Marvel Snap, it's always best to actually rope out the turn. And but the problem is that that's not really conducive to what Marvel Snap is. It's intended to be snappy, so to speak. And I think that by improving the kind of undo button, so to speak, I think that if it makes the game more responsive, it makes people less likely to rope in that circumstance, then the game overall feels better. You know,
me and you just so sweaty when we play Snap. I was doing a video on Pixie this week, and I was like, there's 2 types of players. There's the sweaty ones, and then I was like, and the ones that like to have fun, or I was just going to say the Alex Coccias of the Snap community. But yeah, man, definitely a lot of fun conversation here. I'm excited to talk about the Snap by the Stats and look at a 5-cost tier list. But Alex, what are we talking about on your side of the Snapchat?
Cozy, we're going to be talking about Hope Summers and giving our review on Hope Summers after the first week of testing. I'm excited to talk about it, as we are excited to talk about Pixie as well. We've got 2 new cards in the past week. We'll be reviewing both fully with our experiences. And then finally, a very important topic that Cozy and I are looking forward to discussing with you guys and the community: monetization in Snap. There's a lot changing, and we're going to be covering all of it.
Well, buddy, let's go and just kick it off and get right to it. We got the brand new card coming out in Mockingbird, and we'll be brief, but obviously we know Hope Summers and Pixie, they were fun and definitely just good cards for the game, in my opinion. And now Mockingbird comes. A lot of people high up on Mockingbird. This month is really cool. We covered it, last time, but this month has a lot of flavor, no matter what kind of dish you like in Snap, right? There's just a lot to play with. And Mockingbird is going to be a 5-cost, if you don't know. But that 5-cost is not going to last long. She has 9 power, but she costs 1 less for each card you have in play that did not start in your deck. And there's a lot more than that first meets the eye for Mockingbird here. Now, Alex, as always, before we go into any synergy or say anything about her, initial star ratings. I know we just gave them last week. What are you feeling strong about this week?
I'm feeling strong about Mockingbird, and I'm going at 4 stars.
4 stars. I think that's what we gave last week, right? I think we were about 4.5. Before we dive into her, let's talk about the spotlights. It is Ghost Spider and Man Thing, which is like, to me, I feel like whenever I see something like that, I'm like, oh, so Glenn likes this card the most because they're attacking it with like a couple of listen, this is a week you're just not excited if you don't get anything outside the new card.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point in time you were excited because I think the original version of this was Miss Marvel with Mockingbird,
that's right? Yeah.
So, like, that was really good. That was a great week, man. That was a fantastic week. And then now it's like, man, 2 Series 4 cards, neither of which are particularly good. I mean, I shouldn't even say that because, like, they have their uses. I'm actually kind of a Man Thing truther. I think the card's probably better than we give it credit for, especially considering the buff to Luke Cage. But yeah, 2 Series 4 cards, it's just... it feels like spotlight key fodder, doesn't it? Doesn't it really feel like that? Like it just is not. It's just not what we want.
And on top of that, I guess like for those that are like the super whales, the credit card kings, the Mockingbird base variant might just be the best variant for her. It's clean, man. I love the shield logo in the back, and we're finally going to get ourselves a little bit of a shield team, man. But let's go ahead and talk about kind of in general the cards we like the best with her. There's a lot of kind of token cards, if you will, that will synergize. And Alex, I'll go ahead and open it up with you, buddy. What are you thinking is going to be one of her best decks in the game?
I mean, if we're talking decks, Cozy, we have to start a Patriot, no? Like, I think that Patriot's going to have so many synergistic elements. I mean, you just released a Patriot deck, Cozy. You just did it, and it was absolutely fire. I think you might have to go back to it, because I think that this is going to be an absolutely phenomenal Patriot card.
I'm going to be honest. I've been, making videos about different cards, whatever, and like, I just want to play that Patriot deck. Like, that deck, to me, is just so... It is so damn good, and you don't have to go the super giant path. You can if you want to go a little bit more cheeky. You can get more stable without it. Now with Mockingbird, you could probably definitely sub her out and go a bit more consistent. But just the way that deck establishes priority, and on top of that now, you're going to be getting the discounts down on Mockingbird, allowing you to have... Sometimes there's plays where you didn't have like the perfect play line, or there's like too many 3 costs and you just play Patriot. Now Mockingbird can kind of fill... the void there, and let's go ahead and talk about it, man. Let's talk about the token cards with Patriot, because dude, there's a lot of them. I can go to no ability first. I feel like this might be the easiest way to look at a couple, and maybe it's no ability. It's more of, I guess they all have an ability, but things like clearly, first of all, in the 1 cost slot, we have Squirrel Girl, right? And that's 1 energy commitment to knock her down 2 energy. That's pretty disgusting. I don't think I'll be playing her still. But it's not bad if you just look at the cost effectiveness, man. But on top of that, right, Mr. Sinister, you have 1 out on the board. No problem. Discount 1. Brood, 2 out on the board. If you get Absorbing Man, she's pretty much free at that point, right? I don't think you even have to try to establish the cost reduction for her. And we've seen this now with Corvus, with Hope. If a card is doing your game plan already, it just fits right in the deck. And that's what it does with Patriot.
It absolutely does. And I think one of the key challenges when I was like kind of figuring out early decks with this this card was like, okay, space is going to be a factor. Like, you want to get her to 0. Like, you just naturally want to get like the greediest stat line possible. But if you're doing that, you're playing what? You're playing turn 1 Squirrel Girl, Mr. Sinister, Brood, and then you're like, wait a minute, where can I play cards now? Like, I'm just filling everything up. I mean, you may as well at that point go wave into Ultron and then play like... And then play your middle where Ultron is, or something stupid, right?
Yeah. Ultron just filled just a super discount, like right off the rip. I mean, the cool thing is there's a lot of token cards that aren't like cute. They're just good cards, right? Like, sometimes these cards come out and it's like, if you do this, you get to do that. But the cards that you're trying to force to play, they're not that great. Whereas like Patriot, like I said, just has that naturally. Obviously, Doctor Doom, cheating that out early. That's 2 Doom bots, makes it easy. Spirit Tiger, I just hasn't made the cut for Patriot, right? Maybe Ravona, but not really.
I was in this thought of like, I think this card's intentionally 5 costed to make it extremely difficult to get it out for free. Like, it's a lot harder than I think something like an Abomination, because Abomination has like those wide ranging effects of like Scorpion and Cyclops and others. I think this card is statted very specifically. First of all, it's analogous to Abomination. And I hope we start seeing more 5/9s that kind of riff off of effects based on the game board. I think we're starting like a little mini segment of cards, by the way. But it's really hard to get this card to free, I think.
I mean, it's like now between Pixie and this, it's like, man, get the Mobiuses just in your decks. But forget free. I mean, I'm just... A 1 cost, 2 cost, 9 power card is just so damn good. And the thing I'm a little like with the Patriot deck, if you have Brood into Absorbing Man, like you're gonna win that game. Most likely you're gonna win that game. So I feel like her adding on to this is like maybe a bit win more in that specific deck, right? I mean, it's gonna help you win games maybe that had a play around when you're a live play or whatever you're trying to do. But yeah, definitely she's gonna just be cheap and good at that. We won't talk about it too much, but we should bring it up. I mean, obviously, it's just funny to me that this is still like just King Thanos doing his thing. I mean, clearly, we kind of saw them rework Pixie, so it didn't work with Thanos. Mockingbird is going to clearly work with Thanos. To me, Mind Stone on 1, Mockingbird is at that point at least going to be, what, a 3-cost card later in the game, and you're trying to ramp. She's clearly going to work pretty much best in here almost.
Yeah, I honestly see like just naturally you take Vision out of Thanos and you add Mockingbird and that's it.
Mm,
Like that's probably like you just make that sub and it's easy money and you still have Call Obsidian there, right? Like you have so much vertical power all of a sudden. It's like, man, you know what? You know what Thanos really needed? More power.
yeah.
That's what we need. Let's give Thanos a little bit more. It wasn't powerful enough. And I just laugh because I feel like if we rewind and we're like, yo, a few months back, we're like, Thanos, they killed Thanos. What happened to the Soul Stone? And meanwhile, they're at like second dinner headquarters, like, oh, sure.
Yeah.
Thanos is dead.
Yeah. Well, and I don't even know what to do about him, right? Because he's beatable. He's just always going to be present, which he kind of has been for the most part, outside of like, yeah, the brief 2 months that we thought he was dead because the Soul Stone changed, which thank God that happened at this point because all the changes for that matter, really. But yeah, Thanos clearly is going to have a lot of synergy there. There's more that meets the eye. There's some weird plays with Mockingbird that I think she could kind of fit in before we get to some other obvious ones. Black Knight decks are some of the best decks in the game right now, especially the value list of Black Knight. She's a 9-power card. You have Ebony Blade that can be one of those cards that didn't start in your deck. I feel like maybe she could work into a build with that. Obviously, super niche. You have like Demon, Century, but more so an archetype that you played a good amount, I feel like, especially for a while, is Thor and his buddy, Beta, Ray Bill. Do you think the hammers is a decent way to get this going out too? I mean, that's two things, yeah.
It's so funny. I actually thought about this, but the problem with this is that like you generally play these hammers down on turn 6 with Odin based on the designs that like I had done. I thought was most successful. And like that would mean that you have to magic on turn like 3 or something like that. Like you need the turn 7 to really take advantage of it. And so like it's ultimately like, you know what? And also once you got that pop off, you're gonna win anyway, unless they Shang-Chi and you give initiative. Or, like you probably if you have the pop off like nut draw, then like you just win anyway. So like I thought about it, but I think ultimately it probably doesn't make the cut in that type of deck. But because I said that, it's gonna be the number 1 place for it.
One of the yeah, right. One of the things I like in it is the potential of morph. I was like, hey, another weird card that just gives the reduction to Mockingbird. But obviously, we got to talk about the card generators, right? That's the other section. If it's not like the broods and the production of what we call them token cards, right? Kind of covered most of those, if not all of them. We've got the card generators, man, and these are the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? These are the ones that we have been kind of waiting to see if there's any cohesion between them. We've got the Agent 13s. We've got the Maria Hills. We have even things like Snow Guard, Mirage. And then to me, though, when I'm saying all this, right? Coulson, obviously, my baby. Loki, all right? Like, that just all kind of goes back towards Loki in a sense. Devil Dinosaur, Moon Girl, Loki. All these are combined, right, as card generators. Is this going to be her deck? More so than Patriot Thanos? Is this more fun? Is this going to make Loki even better? What do you think?
So I was looking at like Loki decks, and right now they run the Devil Dinosaur as a backup plan, right? You're generating all this large hand. You can play Devil Dinosaur down if you don't draw your Loki or, whatever. But the problem is if you top deck Devil Dinosaur when you're playing the Loki path, so to speak, you blow up your hand so hard, right? Because that's what Loki does. It drops a lot of cards down rapidly. And so if you think about what Mockingbird could potentially do, if you're playing Loki on 4 and you kind of burst down on 5 with your hand, that allows you to have a pretty discounted Mockingbird into your top deck as well. And so I do think that it's going to change the identity of the way Loki is approached from a playstyle perspective. But I do think that it does have a home there for sure.
It's interesting too because Loki is at times becoming like not the worst play you can do, but he's like just the out route, right? Like he's the alternative plan. And now with like Mockingbird, you want to get Loki so you can get more cards potentially out there to get her down if you top deck her. I think there's a lot of interesting ways that this might go around. Aside from Loki, we're seeing it. I mean, we are seeing Moon Girl and these double up decks happen, right? We're seeing them happen more. There it is, by the way. Hey, I had to do
What
it.
are we doing, man? Every single week. Why don't we just make it a topic?
It's second
Moon Girl.
dinner's
Let's
fault.
talk about Moon Girl for 45
Just
minutes.
in the middle, we'll have like a golden topic that's just like the daily double up. You know what? We'll call this the weekly double up conversation. But I mean, seriously, She-Hulk is one of the best synergized cards with Hope Summers. You get Moon Girl in there as well. These cards are going to count, and I think it's actually pretty unique because, yes, it comes out on 4, but if you can dump out a couple of the cheaper ones on 5, and even getting Mockingbird, right, at that point, then you're getting a couple Mockingbirds. If you get 2 down, you have 2 3-cost Mockingbirds, 18 power. Not a bad play.
It isn't a bad play at all, but like the concern that I have is like you have that side of the equation, but then you also have just like, why don't I just play the Agents of Shield? Like you can kind of generate the same type of momentum with like Agent 13, Maria Hill, like you said before, Coulson and others, Nick Fury, which we kind of forget about, and then play those cards down if you have Quinjet on the board, right? If you're able to get Quinjet on one, then all of a sudden you can get them down fast. And obviously Moon Girl works with Quinjet too, so maybe you smack them all together.
Yeah, I mean, Quinjet's definitely going to want to be in there with Mockingbird. I actually am super excited about this because, as you know, I've always loved card generation decks. It's why I've loved Coulson from early on. And we were talking about him back in like 2 months before Conquest came out. Like, hey, I just think this card's so cool because he brings different things. I want to play a game for a second, okay? We're going to play Snap or Retreat, okay, Alex? And so essentially, let's say your opponent played a really good play. So it's looking rough for you, but you play down X card, which I'm about to name, and I'm going to tell you the token cards it gives you. You have two choices. You can snap on it because you feel great, or you get out of there. Those are your two choices, okay? So we're going to start with Agent Coulson, all right? And I'm just going to go randomly. You play down Coulson. You get yourself a Namor and, let's say, a Doc Ock. Are you snapping, or are you retreating?
Oh, I always snap because I'm psychotic. You snap, you Doc Ock, and you laugh.
Okay, yeah, I felt like the Doc Ock. I felt like the Doc Ock was going to keep you there. I gave you Namor, and I was like, maybe, but no. Okay, the Doc Ock. Okay, fair enough.
With Doc Ock, you want to bait out their Shang-Chi. It's rules. It's how Marvel Snap works. When you play Dr. Octopus, their Shang-Chi leaves their deck, enters their hand, and then comes out.
Very true. Okay, all right. How about let's go to Shauna. Let's say that you have Mockingbird in hand. You play down Shauna. Your one drops that go out are, let's go Ant-Man, the Black Knight, and M'Baku.
Why does it have to be M'Baku every single time?
I had to. Just looking at him down there.
I mean, if you have it in hand, then like I would probably consider, I wouldn't snap. I'd stay. But if they snap on me, I'm sticking around. But I'm not happy about that.
I like the Ant-Man though. Oh, man, Ant-Man being 1/5 now is ridiculous. That's awesome. It is pretty cool. Okay, we'll do a couple more. All right, let's go again to the Agent Coulson side. 4 drop. Let's call it. With the 4s, we'll say Drax.
Snap.
Yeah, hey, listen, the game's not going to give you Drax unless you're destined to win. I feel like you're going to say snap no matter what I say here. But, I'll give you one more. Let's go Spider-Man 2099.
Snap.
This segment was brought to you by A Waste of Your Time, guys. I forgot my co-host is just, he's pedal to the metal. He'll play whatever. He's a reckless human. Agent 13 gives you Agatha and...
I mean, if it's Agatha, you stay. You have to stay. I wouldn't snap.
No,
I wouldn't
snap,
but I would stay because like she always comes down heavy on turn 6, and no one expects Agatha.
Well, guys, that game's title is now just Snap. But yeah, definitely, I think there's a lot of cool token cards with Mockingbird. I think it's gonna bring up Loki to speed, who doesn't really feel like a problem right now. I think no decks, at least to me at the moment, we're going to talk about cards by the stats in a second, but no decks feel like they're absolutely dominating, but there are decks that are just very popular at the moment. Like, I've seen so much Thanos. I've seen a lot of Black Knight to some. What are the decks you're seeing the most out there right now, and would you agree there, or do you think anything's kind of overpowered at the moment?
Now, you know what? I think that it's hard to say. Like in this first week, things will settle down a lot. I think that like a lot of players were experimenting with Pixie and Hope Summers, and so like they kind of move off of what like the meta had been. But then once they get into Infinite and they get into full sweat mode, they start going back to like the tried, tested, and true. And for me, I'm seeing a lot of Corvus discard. I think that that's still holding on quite a bit. You're seeing a lot of Hellas still. Tribunal. A surprising amount of Tribunal in my pocket meta, which is, it makes sense because I think Tribunal's being used to counter the randomness of Hela slightly, the consistent kind of power grade that it sets up, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, you're right. It is a pretty balanced meta right now, and let's see if Mockingbird shakes it up a bit.
It's kind of interesting. I feel like for the first year, we saw a lot of ebb and flow with tech cards, right? Like Enchantress would make her way in a lot more, and we got that a little bit with the Tribunal Miss Marvel heyday, but I just feel like she's never played really outside of that Sarah deck. It truly, if you go up against Tribunal and you don't have a way to answer that play line, it's very tough to hit the 27 over the top. You know, it's not an easy thing for a deck to do in 2 lanes. It's crazy that Enchantress is just not played that much.
Yeah, I've been fortunate because I've been playing a ton of Annihilus and Galactus. And so what I'm able to do with the Tribunal location is I'm able to like kick over something, whether it be the Sentry Void if they're on the right, even the Hood, just occupying the space that they need to set up the Tribunal Iron Man setup, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that just occupying that space can be detrimental to them. And so I've been very successful against that particular shell.
Well, dude, let's finish up the combo here on Mockingbird. The last couple things I was going to say about it, I like that we have a card that if you get a rock, you're not mad about it. So, like, if you have Subterranea, you actually actively want to play your rocks down, which kind of led me to, like, oh, Debris is also not a bad idea to throw in there, too. That's 2 off the top and junking, and you get the discount. It's not bad.
You're pure coping now, man. This is like, this
Debris
is insane.
coping? Debris coping. With Patriot? I don't know.
You just said you actively want to play down rocks in Subterranea.
If you have Mockingbird in hand, would you not? You discount her. You discount her.
So, okay, let's play a little snap game, Cozy.
Okay, snap.
You have Mockingbird in hand. It's a snap. In your hand, you have 5 rocks.
Yeah. Oh, I'm playing them all down. I'm letting them. I'm letting them know. What about Moon Girl? Can I have her in the deck too?
So you have Moon Girl, 5 rocks, and Mockingbird in your hand?
Two Mockingbirds, and I have the rest of rocks. Yeah, I'm like, screw the draw. I'm just going all in. Yeah, for sure.
Didn't Broad say you have to snap when you have a handful of rocks?
Yeah. It'll be over. It'll be done, dude. I'll have 0 Mockingbirds. I'll get 18 power, and then get beat by 50 by the Tribunal deck. But yeah, I mean, I think that Debris though could be a decent play though. With Patriot. Junk decks are in a very weird thing because junk decks are essentially now just Galactus decks. Like that's kind of what they are. I actually feel like if you play like a Hobgoblin, Green Goblin deck that isn't Galactus, you could get a lot of wins because people just prep for that. But all in all, man, I think she's going to fit in mostly to any archetype you play, and that's one of the best things about her.
And the last thing worth mentioning too is that like you kind of brought up Shauna before, but like I think that there's gonna be like a Razzle Dazzle Zeus style deck where you have like Dazzler, Shauna, obviously Mockingbird there as a vertical closer, Ant-Man, which you talked about before.
Yep.
Blarvel, Kazar, like the classic Zoo style deck, and like what they've been really missing is vertical power. Like Zoo has felt okay, even Martyr, like it's 5 power, right? Like it's not bad. But like the problem is like you just can't go vertical enough to beat Hela. You can't go vertical enough to do this. And then all of a sudden it's like Mockingbird, does it make sense? Will it get me where I need to go?
I think like probably the Dracula Zoo has been doing really good. Dracula Dump again. And so because she has that 9 power behind her, it kind of feels good because you can lean the route of maybe, going with card generation. If you don't get those, then you just have like a 9 power card. And that's the other cool thing about her, man. Even if you don't discount her, she's a 5/9, right? Like she's just the vanilla stats, which is kind of crazy to me. The one thing that I thought was like, I get A-Bomb has high Evo and Patriot, but I thought it was kind of crazy that she's caught up to that raw power now of something like A-Bomb, who is that threshold in a way. And now we can get her even further, down from that. So any last words on Mockingbird? I think she's definitely going to be a pretty good card. I think 4-star is going to kind of nail it.
Look at this variant. She looks like she's ready to give the meta a paddling, man. Like I think this is going to be a good card. And I don't want to get like too meta into like the cash design, but I had this thought. I'm like, they gave 2 Series 4 cards to Mockingbird. Does that mean that like they actually think she's very, very, very legit and they're trying to bring the power level of that cash down? Like I was just thinking about that, right? Am I thinking too hard about the arrangement of the cards in the Spotlight cash?
She's going to remind me, I don't think she'll be as good, but she'll remind me of She-Hulk. And when she came out, I remember people were like, it's okay. And then now it's like, well, she's just great. She's just going to be a good card. Like she's not going to be the all-star in a list, but she's just that extra value play. And I think that they know that. I think that it's just like, she has so much versatility behind her. And now that makes Pixie, Hope Summers, and her as all just like really cool cards that can fit into way more decks than kind of we first thought. I mean, if you looked at this season when it came out, it's beaten the pants off the last 2 seasons. And there's some good cards in those too. So kind of crazy that Mockingbird is not even near the best in the season she's coming out, but would be the best in January. In my opinion, no question. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point, man. And definitely we're going to have to see with the bird here. She's going to be coming alongside to, what I would expect, a pretty beefy content patch. And on that, anything you're expecting to be adjusted here?
No, I'm not sure. I just really want to see a game improvement. I want to see a feature improvement. I want to see something like in terms of the actual cards. I wouldn't be surprised if Elsa is not in this patch. Like, despite Elsa seeing a bit of a resurgence, I don't think those move style decks are actually like popping off as hard as people expected. They're doing okay, but I almost had this thought of maybe they keep Elsa exactly powered the way she is, but she does the other locations again. And I wonder if that is what they do to her.
It's either that or they're going to do like +3. I think one of those are going to come. I don't think she'll do the other locations unless they make her cost higher, because it defeats like the paragraph that they stated on why they like took all that away, you know, but maybe they do. I mean, we saw Forge go, you know, full circle on his character arc, right? So it might happen to her as well. But with that, man, I have Snap by the stats, but we're actually going to transition, because we're on 5 cost cards now, to our 5 cost card tier list. Presenting, my friend, the 5 cost card tier list. There's now a good amount of competitive 5 cost cards. We've seen things like Ronin. We have Darkhawk coming to it now. I mean, listen, it's one of the most competitive statted cards across the game, even more so sometimes than the 6 cost cards. And here's the tier list. We have S, A, B, C, and F tier. We're going to try not to overload S or F tier. And I most definitely will not fit all these cards on here. That's for sure. But we're going to start with just random polls. Alex, you give me right what comes to mind here, and we'll have a little discussion, man. And we're going to start. Let's start with Black Panther. Where are we putting him?
I mean, off the rip here, I'm saying C. I feel like he's definitely a C class card.
That's about right. I feel like, yeah, he can really pop off. He can win, you know, for you. But like in terms of like consistency and like deck variants and stuff, yeah, he's kind of in one style. I love him. I have a ton of fun playing Black Panther decks. If this was a fun list, I have him way higher. But yeah, as far as overall maybe consistency, I think that's a good anchor point. And we might adjust these as we go on, right? We got to look at the other ones. But all right, pick a 5 cost. Pick a 5 cost over there.
Before we move on, I was going to say, I also feel like Black Panther is being held back by its design, in the case that I feel like they thought Nakia and Okoye were going to be better. And like they've never revisited this card, right? Like I feel like that's what it feels like. Like I think it could be a 5/5, honestly, considering how easy it is for us to generate 10 power with something like a Cull Obsidian. So next card, Cozy, what you got for us?
And especially now that they took like Forge down and stuff, I totally agree there. Yeah. Let's go with next up. Let's go Sarah. Let's go Sarah. What are you thinking? I mean, I'm leaning towards just going top of the top S tier. I mean, I think just because of what she brings up, even something like Black Knight. In fact, I don't even think this is that hard of a discussion. I think she's towards the top of the cards. Would you agree?
I could see her on the lower end of S.
Yeah.
Like, and I can see people making the argument for high end of A, but I do agree that for me, she's definitely going to be an S tier card.
I mean, between Sarah Control being the best deck in Infinity Conquest, right? Just like season over season, like she just really hasn't really shifted from this. There's a couple months where she was, you know, not the best, but definitely has always been kind of solid. So we won't talk much about her. We know she's great. Let's go Vision. I feel like Vision's a tough one. What would you give Vision?
I feels like an A. He's a good A card, no?
You know, I'm tempted to give him low S just because of how versatile he is, right? Like the guy really is used in more decks than, you know, Lockjaw. You've got the Elsa deck. He just doesn't ever feel bad to play outside of you got to play him on 5, right? Like that's really the only con to him. Top decking him doesn't feel the best, but ever since he got that small power buff, to me he's one of the more top end 5 costs.
You're also kind of forgetting about his impact in Shuri. Like Shuri's kind of a forgotten archetype right now, and he's an absolute staple there. Yeah, he's a fantastic card, and I love the mind games element. I mean, I feel like on the second podcast we ever did, you talked about how Vision was one of your favorite cards for the mind game side, and I almost never move my Vision on turn 6.
Yeah, I know.
Like I just leave him there, right? So I really like Vision. I could see him sneaking into S depending on the meta, but he's definitely an A card.
I love how there are people like move cards on New York, don't stay there. I feel most of the time if you just stay put, the opponent will outthink themselves. Like they're gonna be like doing every possible move, and then you're just like, I'm doing nothing. I'm just playing my Hulk down or whatever. But let's go next up. Let's go Ronin. Where do you have Ronin, Alex?
Ronin for me feels like himself is probably an A card, but his archetype's closer to C, so he ends up being in B. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of a victim of his circumstance. Like he does not have the right activators yet, but his stats and his power is good.
Would you have Devil Dino and let's get the three amigos. Would you have Devil Dino and Darkhawk both in A?
Darkhawk, so. I've been experimenting with. I feel like he lands high A. He doesn't feel like as S tier right now, but I think that the deck is still being figured out. But ultimately, I would take Devil Dinosaur Darkhawk over Ronin, yes, because their complementary pieces are just better.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're easier to get accomplished. You could play them in more decks. I mean, definitely Devil Dinosaur. You could just put in any deck. Devil is almost S tier to me. Like he is in Loki. He could be in Thanos. He's just a solid play line. I'm just playing him less, which is gonna, maybe why I'll have him in A here. So that was fun. Okay, let's go next up. Legion, Alex. Where do you have Legion?
Legion, from a cubing perspective, is like near S tier. Anytime I add Legion to my deck, like I feel like I'm just literally robbing people of their cubes. It feels unfair. However, he definitely is a low A, and I can see people saying that he's high B. Like I can see that.
Oh my
being a
God, I would
discussion.
defend that hill. Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. But I feel like people are low on Legion, but when I play Legion, I'm like, oh yeah, this card is crazy.
Will you let me put him in low S, or you want him in A?
I would put him in A, but I would accept low S.
Yeah, listen, we'll have him just kind of hanging out right here for now, and then if we want to move him, we can move him down. He doesn't ever feel bad to have in a deck because of his surprise. Like, I don't ever look at Legion and think of myself like he's the 12th card in this deck. Like, he just does his role most of the time. Even if it doesn't benefit you, it throws off what the opponent's doing. Yeah, man. And then he could just win you games. Like, bar with no name, you get the free win. Like, no problem, right? Like, that's why they don't do a bar with no name hot location. It'd just be the Legion show. And who doesn't play more, I guess. But anyway. Okay, fun enough. Let's go Dr. Octopus. We talked about him on the Snap segment there. What do you think about Doc Ock?
He definitely feels closer to C. Like I've had him in decks where he feels pretty good and I like him, but like really it's Doc Ock. He's a C card. Like you're putting him in B. Okay, sell me.
I have him in B. Yeah, I feel like it really, like, we've seen him rise up in different metas, and those metas are the ones that people are just holding their cards for combos. Like, they're trying to really do a lot of crazy things. They're trying to pull off a bunch of stupid, wumbo jumbo stuff. I feel like Doc Ock is a super disruptor in more ways than one. And then as long as you build a deck around it, you're able to, Shang-Chi it, Enchantress, whatever might have come out. You force their play, especially like Destroy. You can just ruin those decks to some extent. Shuri. I don't know, man. I feel like he's definitely B. Like, he rises up as, I would play him as more than Ronin, personally.
I liked him. Like I recently had him in a Scar. I called it Scar Unite. It was a Black Knight Scar deck on the release of Scar, and I actually really liked playing Doc Ock in it. And Doc Ock was super disruptive for a lot of combo plays, but at the same time, like you often got your cheeks absolutely just clapped when you brought down all their power, and then they got to play their Scar for free on the other side or something, right?
Yeah,
and
okay.
Of course, you always bring down Shang-Chi, so I think that he can bite you back a little bit, and that's what kind of tempers my expectations.
I'll fight for B. I'm not opposed to moving him, but I would play him more than these other guys. And I feel like he's more flexible than Black Panther, but I could be wrong. How about let's get Kang out of the way. We'll put him in F. We don't even need to talk about him much.
Whoa! You're putting Kang in F?
Are we doing this right now?
Is this real life?
You want to ruin the flow?
No, I'm okay with it. He's an F card. I like him S tier. I actually love Kang, but let's be honest, he's trash. Yeah.
I appreciate you sparing us. I do. I know you were ready. You had your monologue ready. Like you chat GPT'd like a full like beach.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I went into ChatGPT. I'm like, you are a podcaster for Marvel Snap.
And
defend Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, right.
I wrote a thesis, buddy.
Well, let's move on and go to Iron Man. Where do you have Iron Man? I know where I have him, but I want to know you.
He's an S tier card.
S tier, baby.
He's an S tier card.
S tier,
100%.
right?
He's probably the most underrated like starter card in Marvel Snap. People are like, oh, I can replace Iron Man now. It's like, no, you don't want to.
Don't want to, dude. In fact, if I were to like redo everything, I would just have Iron Man like on my way to pool 3. Like he's just the double power. It's the win more. He's able to. What's cool is not even like the 40-point plays, but like the 19, like being able to get like over that hump that they thought, they can't make up that power, and then he can do just that, right? Just Iron Man, he gives you a lot of play lines, a lot of fun ways to play him. I agree. I think he's one of the best that we'll talk about today. I'm glad we're in sync there, man. But what about a card I feel like has a camp of people think she's underrated? Other side of people, not so much. Some people don't even play her anymore, and it's another starter card at Gamora.
Gamora, man, that's hard. I think it's a B card. I think that it's definitely good. And it's just like, listen, when you're getting into like the lockdown Professor X style games, like when you're not playing Alioth, like you could put up serious power with Gamora and then Alioth them, right? Like it's a tremendous amount of power. I would say B, but I'm willing to hear your case on this.
No, I mean, I think it's getting easier to play her with some of the cards that we have. Like if they have Hope Summers, you kind of know where they're going to be playing, things like that. To me, I feel like her value, and when she is in decks, she's an A card, but how much I play her, I have her in B. Like, I have her above these two Jamokes for sure. I would lean A, but I'm okay with going top of B. It just feels like she's better than that, but I don't play her more than that, right? So like I can't defend something I don't play. These other ones I play, like Legion, can't defend her as much.
Yeah, like Gamora doesn't have like the meta penetration that some of these other cards do, and so like that definitely like tapers off her performance a little bit. But like when you do play her, like I feel like she is a good performer. But it's kind of crazy how like 512 she gets to, right? 512. It's been so long that I had to like actually think about it for a second. It's a tremendous style line. It's good.
Let's go. Next up, I'll go with my my one and only wife, and by far just the most beautiful variants in the game. We have Arrow at 5'9". And listen, I mean, obviously, I have some bias here. There's clearly bias. We'll go right up here, and Alex, you can actually, I might just put her over the letter. What are you thinking?
So like, I think that Arrow is one of those cards that like, honestly, it's not what it used to be, but it's still pretty decent. With that being said, though, I think she's worse than Kang. So if we put Kang at F, yeah. I think she needs to be at F beside Kang. And maybe she can think about what she's done to the meta in the past. And maybe one day we'll bring her back to her former glory. But until then, she can sit in F with Kang.
I hope you die a slow death.
Thank you.
Realistically, what, like B? Do we feel like she gets played, I would say, more than Gamora or less?
Nah, she's like, buddy, she's probably actually a C card.
Really? Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Like, I don't want to say she's a C, but like, she's better than that, but she's played like a C card. She's actually low B in my opinion.
Yeah, like I would say I play her more than Black Panther, probably more than Doc Ock. Like the decks she's in, like the Kingpin deck and the like some Thanos, she does work, but yet people are picking other options, and now you got Mockingbird at the same stat value. I think she's just gonna lose more and more. Not saying she's not a good card. I think she is underplayed, but I think low in B tier is good with me. Hobgoblin.
It's an A card. I love it. I love Hobgoblin.
What? Oh my gosh. You've been playing too much Galactus.
I always believe in the Hob of the Gob, man. This card absolutely lands nonstop. I like this card a lot, and I mean, maybe I'm coping a little bit. I can accept like B, but I think this card's better than expected, especially since Odin's not in the meta at all.
My issue with him mainly is that like I hate him at 5, right? Like if I have Ravonna, I love him at 4. I love that play. I will say when I get Hobgoblined, I'm done. Like I look at it, I'm like, I'm not making up this power. What am I supposed to do here, right? Like he can even outside of Galactus like really hurt. I think I have him with this B tier group. I don't think I could put him in A personally because I just feel like he doesn't provide that. Especially he's better than he was, you know, towards launch. But I would even argue C to an extent. We have a lot of B tier here, so let's make it easy. Go to Adam Warlock, new and improved, or worse than ever. What do you have, Adam?
Right in F. Get rid of him. Right in F.
Yeah.
He's awful. I tried making a deck around him. Absolutely awful. Actually worse than Kang. I can't even believe you did that. Kang is playable. At least flip that order back. How dare you? Okay. Adam Warlock is so much worse than Kang. Like you can't snap with Adam Warlock and then bait them into giving up cubes. You can do that with Kang at least.
I feel like dude, I tried to make him work in a pixie deck and that didn't work. And I'm like, where else would he even work? Like that was the only. Like they're so protective of the draw one mechanic. I get it, guys, I do. But Crystal is a 3/3, and I don't care if she does both. You don't have to do anything to get that draw, and you only need about one draw anyway because you got magic. Definitely, yeah, I agree. Bad card, terrible card. Let's go to Black Bolt, who we'll do Black Bolt and Stature together, and I can at least give my take to begin with. I think Stature is significantly better than Black Bolt. In terms of like what she provides and the way that she synergizes. Personally, I'd get Stature in B and Black Bolt in low C.
That feels like pretty aggressive. I'd probably put both in B. But like the thing about Black Bolt that really sucks and why I would accept a C placement is he always just hits a rock or something. Like he never hits something notable because the style of those decks traditionally has revolved around like the Darkhawk based disruption package. And like whatever, if they draw a rock, then you just get ready. Like you're not hitting a piece that they want to play under most circumstances with Black Bolt. I think that holds them back.
I will say with the Kitty Pryde deck with Shuri, like you're really building up power there. Like maybe you can snipe that, but now we have like, I don't know, Silver Samurai. There's just a lot more cards, I guess, that I would just rather go with Or not even rather, like there's alternative ones, which is why I have stature a tad bit higher. Spider-Woman to me feels just like Gamora. I don't know. I've always kind of put these two together in the same vein and play style. Can we agree on that? Or do you like her higher, lower?
I've been playing her a lot. Like I've been playing this debuff evolutionary style deck, and I don't mind it. But she often feels like, man, I should probably cut this card, right? And like the way I get her into decks lately, I've actually been cutting Infinite to include her, and I've been trying to like tighten up the play pattern because I'm often getting my Hulk to 20 power anyways, right? Like it's kind of crazy how big Hulk can get, or 18, it doesn't even matter. So I try to squeeze Spider-Woman in, but sometimes it just doesn't quite work. So I definitely like her as a B card, but ultimately I think she's probably actually a C card.
Yeah, we gotta balance out. That's fair. We gotta balance out this bell curve a little bit. We've got a pretty heavy thing going over here in the B tier stat, but we do have a lot of good cards left at that. Let's move on to Blue Marvel. This one is tough. My gut tells me A tier.
Yep, I would agree with the low 8. Yeah, 100%. I don't think it's as meta impactful as either of the 3 cards we have already in Vision, Devil Dinosaur, or Darkhawk. But like this card's legit. 100%. It's legit. And it's easy to forget that it was a 5-2 prior, and it was buffed up to 5-3.
Yeah, things like Iron Lad really make him better too. Like he's just like getting that Iron Lad. Like anytime I have Blue Marvel, I typically have the Doombots and Doctor Doom, and if I have those, I'm like, I gotta get Iron Lad in here, and that combo really gets pushing. And on top of that, he's like nice against control sometimes. Like you can buff up a lane that maybe they lock down. Is unexpected wins that way, and you've been playing them pretty early on. Let's knock down a couple of just bad cards. Let's get them out of the way. And it's not that they're bad, but if we compare them to the rest, that's what this list is. We go Nimrod. Is there an argument? I'm really just feeling like it's C tier, and that's it.
I actually think Nimrod's being hyper slept on, and I'm probably going to be releasing a deck guide next week about it. Like honestly, I think Nimrod's actually kind of cracked.
Outside of the New Hope Summers builds, he was not that great. He was C tier till Hope Summers.
No, he wasn't. Part of the reason though is because Destroy was so popular, and you can't win with a Nimrod deck versus Null. Like if they have Null, you just die. Like you can't do anything against that deck. It was Destroy that kept Nimrod in check.
Hope Summers though is the real deal. The first deck I made with Hope Summers period was Shuri, and it's because you were able to do some stupid things there. Nimrod is one of them. At this moment, I feel like he can. The bell curve feels good in C. I feel like that maybe we'll move him towards the end. I feel like he's in line with these cards as far as how much I play him, how much we see him. But I agree. I do think he's slept on. There's no question there. How about Sandman?
I see. He had his moment in the spotlight for a while, and then like he just got like the one power nerf was enough just to make him feel bad enough to take out of list. If you're playing ramp, you're not playing Sandman right now. I don't think. Even with all the bounce, I still don't think he's good enough.
I don't hate Corvus. I don't hate like Corvus ramp. I don't hate the Hope Summer stuff, but usually Hope Summers, you're not looking to just play Sandman. Like Corvus, Sandman can work because you have the Hella thing. That actually felt really good. I would agree though, as far as like his nicheness, right? Like talk about a card that fits in one deck, one play style. Not much outside of that. Can win you a lot of games, right? The same as Black Panther and whatever, right? Like, I agree there. How about Taskmaster?
It's a weird one. It's really hard to place Taskmaster, right? I mean, he's a 0 power card, so in theory he's with Kang, but he's way better than that too. I would give him like a high B, low A.
I think low A. I think every deck that has him in it, which there's a fair amount, you're pretty happy when you have him. You feel more confident at least. And again, now with the rise of the Kitty Shuri a bit more, and just Shuri's kind of creeping a little bit. And we're just getting bigger cards, man. We're having easier ways. In fact, I would say with Hope Summers, you can just do like Blob and Taskmaster. Like there's easier ways to get these big cards down. To me, he does feel like on this par, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna get absolutely disgusting on the release of War Machine, by the way, because I do think that War Machine into Hope Summers will allow you to play the Infinite on turn 6, and then you can or turn 5 or whatever, and actually follow up with the Taskmaster play, which is pretty significant. So I think the Taskmaster is going to come back.
I mean, hell, even with Mockingbird, I mean, you could get something going like She-Hulk, free, Mockingbird and the Taskmaster in there as well. That's, you're pushing out a crap ton of power with that. I feel like they nailed his cost, man. He just always feels like 5 is right on the money. Let's go Valkyrie. Talk about another just slept on card and Snap. I'm having a tough one with this one. I want to say A, I do, as far as like truly how good she is, but I do think it's going to end up being top of B, but it feels odd there.
You're like an S tier cube card, right? Like Legion. Feels like Legion, but she's really like low A, high B, I think. Like she's the best card that no one plays, probably.
Do we leave her? Yeah, and with Ant-Man's buff too, man, I'm gonna put Legion down in A. With Ant-Man's buff too, I'm okay with low A. I do. I think that she
Sure.
needs to be played more. Red Skull. He got his power back. I think he's a B tier card though.
Yep, he's B. I agree. It's nothing fancy. He's B.
He could be a risk, and yeah, I agree. Let's get this one quickly out of the way. Annihilus, can we both agree? Top, just S tier.
Absolute S tier. One of my favorite cards in the game. I can't believe how good this card is. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, that might be one of the, I think that might be the only S tier left. Jane Foster, I think, is probably one of the tougher ones to place today. Removing emotions that you do have, not only myself for the variants out there, but also just you and the deck playstyle. Where do you have Jane?
I want you to know that, like, on occasion, I'll have this shower thought of, like, I can't believe Cozy likes that other variant better than the Archer one. It still bothers me to this day. You brought it up like 6 weeks ago, and it still pisses me off.
Oh my
God.
God.
I don't understand how you're doing the Archer variant so dirty, but that's a whole other conversation.
Well, time to double down. Well, and they put it in the album too, so it's like now I'm forced to look at it all the time. I tell you, no, it's definitely the better one though. There's not even like I'm not losing sleep over that, man. I made that decision and I feel good.
I think what makes Jane Foster so good, though, is like the cards that she synergizes directly with. I mean, you're a huge proponent of the Jane Foster negative decks. It's almost on the Cozy cycle. Once every couple months, it comes back and it just terrorizes the meta for a couple of weeks. Like, I do like Jane Foster a lot, but really, I feel like she's a low A, high B.
Yeah, I want to say high B. I think like truly, as far as like, because you do need other cards played out at the right time.
Yeah.
Right.
But the 5/8 feels good. Like her stats don't feel like nothing shabby, man.
No, not at all. Like you can play her in a lane if like nothing, especially if nothing's been played there. I'm gonna jack up her graphic, but especially if things haven't been played there, like having that 8 power going into 6, it can be tough because then you're gonna spike the other lanes up too. Like yeah, I agree. You're not mad about it, even if you don't have anything to bring back up. Let's go Leech, man. And do we just need to say S tier? I mean, I think it's SA. What are you thinking, dude? Listen, it's not how much I like the card. It's just what it does.
Put it in F for fun.
F is for fun. How about if someone skips ahead to the end, they're gonna be like, "What the hell?" And we'll have them there. No,
it's honestly it's a high A card. It can't hit S. It's not an S tier card because there's going to be games and matchups and situations where like playing Leech is completely detrimental to you. Whereas like with so many of the other cards, like I would even say low A. Like I don't think there's. On aggregate, I bet you it's way better to play Vision in a standard game of Marvel Snap. I think it's way better to play Legion in a standard game of Marvel Snap. Like, I think Leech has its purpose, but in terms of, like, it's way more niche than the other cards, really.
It depends what is the meta. If it's a combo-heavy meta, he's very easy to win with. If it's not, then, it's a bit tougher. They could just slam down big stuff, which is happening right now. If someone built their Kitty Pryde up the whole game, they don't give a damn if they get Leech. So I do agree there. He can feel punishing against things like, She-Hulk and stuff, but at that point, Mobius could get the job done even cheaper. So I would agree there. MODOK.
It's a hard one, man. I lean towards B again.
I go A.
You go A, really? Okay.
As of recent.
I'm willing to listen. After the release of Corvus, though, I feel like Corvus is eating his lunch a little bit.
I just feel like, man, it's the most staple card in discard, man. Like between the Mobius, between getting the Swarms and your APOC up and all these things that just the Midnight now, the Proxima Midnight, I think it's like, I wouldn't even think about B tier. I think he is like, when I'm playing discard and I pull him, and I get that he's limited, but man, talk about just like the champion, more so in my opinion than even Jane Thor, and now with Hela too. I could understand top of B. I don't know. I just feel like he's the core staple in those decks.
I'm willing to accept it. I just feel like discard's getting enough tools that they can work without him, but he is still very reliable. He's the most reliable discard. He blows up everything.
And gets rid of the whole damn thing. Spider-Man 2099. I don't care if he was in a list in a tournament lately. He's still garbage at 5'9". Is he F tier garbage or C tier garbage?
I mean, I lean towards probably low C in the case that, like, I bet you there's a deck out there that we're sleeping on that might make him okay, but he's actually probably
We've been saying that, dude, since the launch of him, though, I feel like. But I agree. I'm sure there is. Glenn is hellbent. In fact, he coded the smart decks to exclude it, I feel like, because it's out there. It's still out there. But he could be, I mean, 5'9" is a good stat. He kill anything. He's overvalued, but then at that point, you have to play something, and that ruins your 6 a little bit. I think I'm okay with C. Yeah, I think C's okay. Wrapping up the list here, we have Abomination. which I think we could, look at him in high Evo and all that. But to me, I don't know. What do you have? It's not A for Abomination. Where do you have him?
It's not A, because even in like the Abomination kind of debuff shells, he can be tricky to get out. He can be. He's not C. Get out of here. He's going to be a low B. He's going to be a low B. I think he's worse than Red Skull, but he's definitely better than Sandman is.
Okay. All right. I'll accept it. I think I like C for him there. Maybe I'm being a bit too cynical. Professor X is a fun one because of his history with Snap. And I'll say it. I feel like people aren't playing him enough. I don't give a damn. He's a 5-1. This guy, he's still a winner, man. He's still a winner. Easier to set up. I think he's A tier, just because of his ability to win you the game.
I gotta tell you, dude, the high Evo deck that you had made with Pixie and the Professor X was so good. I think that people, like, honestly, using Professor X in the High Evolutionary Shell, I think was genius by you, because you could cut something like an armor, you can cut something like Chimera, because you're locking down a location that they might want to try and kill your Sunspot or whatever. Even if like they outtrade you, you have the floating capability of Sunspot on that location. I think it was such a good idea.
Thanks, man.
To put Professor X in the High Evo shell. And so, like, ultimately, I do think he's an A card. I think that his nerf does hit him very heavy, and obviously, as will War Machine. So we'll have to revisit him in the future. I
appreciate you, man. Yeah, I definitely wanted to build something a bit different than the high Evo decks out there, and that took me back to like when he kind of came out. White Tiger, C or B?
Please B. B.
Yeah, kind of like
high C. I would accept high C.
Yeah, I just feel like you have the Lockjaw build and Hella sometimes, but it's just clunky, and it takes 2 board spots, and you could pop off, but it's kind of like Black Panther in that regard. Lady Deathstrike, are you going C? Low C?
It's like low C. Low C.
Like above 2099, I would agree. And lastly, we have Claw, which I think we could probably... Would we both say B or C here?
I mean, I would like to see Claw get a 5-5 stat line, but yeah, he's definitely a low B. He's better than C. Claw steals cubes, for sure.
Ultimately, we did a little bit of shuffling at the top there, but this is about right. I feel like we nailed it. I think it's cool to see just how many, like, good 5-cost cards there are. Only a couple towards the bottom. The 1 and C are pretty situational. I think we could move a couple up, maybe move 1 or 2 down, but this feels solid to us. And that takes us to our last segment, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the tier list. If you want more of these, let us know, because I built a template and I want to get use out of it. All right, buddy. Lastly, man, we're going to kind of go through this somewhat quickly, but we have Snap by the stats, Alex, and I was shocked. I've pulled up this list of stats of what is winning the most right now, what is doing terrible, and I'm pretty blown away by what is the most played cards at the moment. It's very different than when the last time we did this, which was a while ago. And so, as always, I'm going to give you the floor. I'm going to give you a chance. I'm putting you on the spot, but give me like 3 cards you think are on this list. Top 10 most played in game scene.
Most played and game seen, man, that's hard to say. Right now, like as of this week,
30 days
is one.
All game modes, 30 days, all ranks.
Oh man, okay, now you're throwing it up. Okay, I would say that most definitely Thanos is going to be one. Am I right?
No, but go ahead. He's like,
come on.
He's
okay,
like 13.
I would say that Jeff is another.
Yes, he's 3.
Okay, and I would say that.
You're missing some obvious.
I'm gonna go Lady Sif.
Oh wow, that was a. You know what's funny, man? She's not on here, but Blade is. So I'll go ahead and read it out
Damn it, I
here.
was so close.
Yeah, so 1 and 2 I thought are the most obvious. Shang-Chi, Zabu, no shock. Those are in every deck. Those are like it's a 10 card game, and you have those 2 in the deck. Those are definitely the most seen. Jeff comes in at number 3. Number 4 is Magneto, which I thought was kind of high.
That is high. Wow,
yeah, right?
Really?
I know. Yeah, all game modes last 30 days. Infinite is after that, which makes sense with the high Evo builds, with Hella just being rampant. If you look at the last 30 days, I'm not shocked. I just think it's and Black Knight at that too, right?
Yeah, Black Knight too, yeah.
Yep. Blade is coming in after Infinite, followed by Vision. Vision's getting a lot of love. Iolith, what the hell? Eliath, Magic, and Iron Lad. Those all feel, I think, you got the Hella mixed in there. I'd be curious to see where this goes now. I think you remove those discard options, and we have the same list, but like the Hope Summer stuff.
We should just make a deck that's just the top cards being played and see how they do.
And dude, that deck's probably pretty good, man. Zabu, though, only has, 1 card to go off of there. But the least, though, this is what shocked me. There's a couple on this list, at least one, that I was definitely surprised by. What do you think is the least seen card in Snap? Give me a few.
Uatu the Watcher.
Bro, he's not. He's been played. I don't know who's playing. There's one guy just keeping his stats up. I am
Someone's
convinced.
hoping, eh? Someone's huffing the hopium out there with the Watu. I got the Chiwatu. I'm looking for the list. Let me know.
Okay, yep. Give me one more.
Strong guy.
No. Strong guy's made his with Dracula Dump. He's doing okay. He's getting a little bit of love, a small bit
After I
of love.
said it, I'm like, wait a minute. I've actually played against a couple of strong guys.
Yeah, so the number 10, White Queen. Number 9 is 2099. Number 8 is M'Baku. And number 7 is Stegron. Then Warpath. Kingpin, though, is on this list. And to me, that's crazy because the Mobster deck is good. Like, that deck is a winner with Magneto.
That surprises me, too.
It's a great deck. Maybe just not getting a lot of love. Mojo makes sense.
Electra?
Hercules, Baron, and Punisher. Bottom three.
Punisher, man. Come on now.
Punisher's last.
That makes sense. Really, Electra seeing more play than Kingpin. How the hell is this happening right now?
Dude, the Watu guys, I guess, playing Electra in the deck. Maybe the starter cards, because it's across all game modes, all ranks. That could be it. Lastly, I'll close it off with, when played, these are the cards that win the most. And you're not going to be shocked by these, right? Because you're not playing these cards unless you think you're going to win. What do you think number 1 is on the list?
It's probably Shang-Chi.
No, it's
Galactus?
Galactus on the list is later on. No, it's Alioth at 1.
Of course, Alioth at 1. Why did I even think of that? I missed Shang-Chi on the first list. I missed Alioth on this list. What am I even doing? I need to hang up my hat here.
Alioth is the most winning card when played. Hela is the second most winning card. Null is number 3. Blob is 4. MODOK is 5, which I think is wild. Hulk.
High.
I know. Hulk is 6. Infinite 7. Onslaught is 8, which would be obviously the winning play there on like Miss Marvel and those Tribunal decks. Death, Arnim Zola is the top 10, and then a couple of those that you just mentioned are on the way out. So honestly, a lot of cards, a lot of diversity there. Obviously, this list had a lot of Hela in it, but I think it's fun to look at the meta. 30 days, all game modes, all ranks. And that is going to conclude today's episode, man. Mockingbird, 5-cost cards. Got a fun week, and we have an awesome discussion over on Alex's side. We're going to be looking at Hope Summers and Pixie, 2 awesome cards that just came out. And instead of the Snapchat mailbag this week, Alex, what are we talking about?
We'll be talking about the monetization in Snap. We'll be discussing some of the things that have been occurring, some of the red flags that have been coming up, and kind of leading a community discussion as to how perhaps we can get ahead of what might be coming in Snap.
Alrighty, guys. Well, have a good one. Have a great one. And until that next one, happy Snap.